The shadows didn't just grow longer on Monday Night Raw tonight, they turned into a physical weight that crushed the very heart of the most dominant faction in modern wrestling history. Welcome back to Wrestling Apocalypse, the only place where we don't just watch the wreckage, we sift through the debris to find the truth. If you're sitting there right now with your hands over your head, staring at the screen in total, paralyzed disbelief, you aren't alone. We have just witnessed the end of an era. The Judgment Day, a group built on the foundation of always, never, forever, has officially fractured in the most violent, cold-blooded, and systematic way imaginable. For 2 years, Finn Bálor was the strategic mind, the veteran anchor, and the man who sacrificed his own body to keep the goth circus on top of the WWE. But tonight, the prince was dethroned by his own subjects. We are talking about a massive betrayal that saw Dominik Mysterio, McDonagh, and the World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest turn on the very man who led them into battle. This wasn't just a beatdown, it was a public execution of loyalty that has left the locker room in a state of absolute shock. The energy in the arena tonight was pressurized from the opening segment. You could feel the static electricity in the air, a low-frequency hum of tension that usually signals a massive tectonic shift in the hierarchy. The Judgment Day walked to the ring for what was supposed to be a celebration of dominance, but the body language was all wrong. Damian Priest walked 10 steps ahead of the group, his eyes fixed on the horizon, while Finn Bálor followed behind, looking around as if he sensed a predator in the tall grass. There were no fist bumps. There was no shared laughter. When they reached the ring, the purple lights didn't feel like a sanctuary, they felt like a bruise. Finn Bálor grabbed the microphone, and his voice was filled with a rare, vulnerable pride. He talked about how they had survived the draft, how they had held the gold, and how he had personally mentored every person standing in that ring. He looked at Dominik Mysterio and said, "I made you a man." He looked at McDonagh and said, "I brought you into this family." And then he turned to Damian Priest and said, "I made you a king." It was a heartfelt, emotional speech that should have been the highlight of his career. But as Finn turned his back to address the crowd, the air in the arena went cold. The cinematic timing of the betrayal was perfection. It didn't start with a punch, it started with a look. Damian Priest didn't say a word. He didn't even yell. He just slowly adjusted his vest, looked at Dominik, and gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. In an instant, the world turned upside down. McDonagh, Finn's own protege, the man Bálor brought into the fold, was the first to strike. He didn't hit a wrestling move, he grabbed Finn by the hair and drove his knee into Bálor's spine. The sound of the impact echoed through the rafters, and for a second, the crowd went dead silent. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. But it was Dominik Mysterio who provided the psychological sting. As Finn crawled toward the ropes, reaching out for his brother, Dominik didn't help him. He stood over him with a smirk that looked like it was carved out of pure malice. He took Finn's signature Judgment Day bandana, looked at it with disgust, and dropped it onto Bálor's broken body. The Dirty One then unloaded a series of stomps that were so vicious, Michael Cole was screaming on commentary, "What happened to the family? What happened to the brotherhood?" The real horror, however, was Damian Priest. He didn't participate in the initial flurry. He stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching the dismantling of his mentor with the cold, detached gaze of a man who had already moved on. When JD and Dominik finally dragged a bloody and battered Finn Bálor to the center of the ring, Priest slowly uncrossed his arms. He walked over, knelt down next to Finn's ear, and whispered something that was caught on the ringside microphones, "The prince is dead. Long live the king." And then, with the strength of a freight train, he delivered a south of heaven chokeslam that nearly sent Finn through the ring boards. Backstage, our sources at Wrestling Apocalypse are telling us the locker room was in a state of absolute, paralyzed awe. We've heard reports that several top-tier superstars were standing 3 deep at the monitors in the gorilla position, refusing to move. One producer told us that Triple H was seen pacing behind the curtain, his hands on his head, realizing that the Judgment Day brand as we knew it had just been incinerated. The vibe back there is toxic, with a feeling that Damian Priest has officially declared himself a sovereign entity who no longer answers to anyone, especially not the man who helped him find his path. The fan perspective on social media is a total nuclear explosion. Within 10 minutes, #FinnBetrayed and #JudgmentDayIsOver were trending #1 worldwide. The debates are already raging. Is Damian Priest right? Has Finn Bálor been holding them back with his veteran ego? Or is this the ultimate act of cowardice? One fan in the front row was caught on camera with her hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face, holding a Balor Club sign that felt like a relic from a lost civilization. It's a perfect description of the emotional reality we saw tonight. This wasn't just a heel turn. it was the murder of a legacy. Think about the cinematic consequences for the road to WrestleMania. Before tonight, the Judgment Day was a fortress. Now, it's a castle in ruins, and Damian Priest is sitting on a throne of broken glass. Finn Bálor has been taken to a local medical facility with a potential cervical injury, but more importantly, he has been stripped of his identity. He gave everything to that group. He turned his back on the fans, he embraced the darkness, and he let the Judgment Day consume his career. To have it end like this, not with a whimper, but with a boot to the face from the people he loved, is the ultimate wrestling tragedy. The commentary team was in a state of absolute wreckage as the show went off the air. Michael Cole was shouting about the vultures picking at the bones of a great man, but Wade Barrett was uncharacteristically quiet. He pointed out that Damian Priest's evolution required the sacrifice of the past. He noted that in the world of the Judgment Day, there was only room for one alpha, and tonight, the alpha decided that the old lion was no longer fit to lead the pride. It was a chilling, clinical analysis of a massacre. As we look toward next week, the apocalypse has officially reached the red brand. What happens when Finn Bálor returns? Because we know he will. But will he be the prince we saw tonight, or will the betrayal finally push him back into the arms of the demon? We've heard whispers that Balor has been seen in deep conversation with certain figures from his past in Ireland, and if the demon is being awakened by this betrayal, then Damian Priest hasn't just won a power struggle, he started a war that might actually end the world. We here at Wrestling Apocalypse are going to be tracking every medical update and every backstage rumor 24/7. We've got people stationed at the hospital, and we are waiting for the first word on Finn's condition. But more importantly, we are waiting to see if the Judgment Day stays united under Priest, or if the guilt of what they did to Finn starts to rot them from the inside out. Can Dominik and JD truly trust a man who just destroyed his best friend? I want to hear from you, the heart and soul of the Apocalypse community. Did you see this coming? Was the writing on the wall, or were you as blindsided as the rest of us? Is Damian Priest a genius for striking first, or has he just signed his own death warrant? And what should Finn Bálor do when he returns? Drop your theories, your demon emojis, and your judgment rants in the comments below. We read every single one of them, and tonight, we need your help to process the carnage. If you're as electrified and heartbroken by this massive betrayal as we are, hit that like button to show your support for the channel. It helps us keep the lights on while we navigate the fallout of this disaster. Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a beat as we head toward the most violent WrestleMania in history. The shadows have turned, the family is dead, and the apocalypse is just getting started. I've been your host for Wrestling Apocalypse. Watch your back, stay loud, and we'll see you at the next bell.